All right, here we are again. We are the Vinyl Community Guncesl, and we're so glad you're here as well. We are here this time to review New Order, Power, Corruption, and Lies. I gave these guys a choice because I'm working on 1983 albums on my own channel. So I gave them a choice whether they wanted to review an album that I've heard a lot or an album I'd never heard before, both from 1983. They chose the one that I'd never heard before. So that's why we're reviewing.
Never heard.
Yeah, I never heard that album.
Wow.
Oh, well, I've heard it now.
Yes, now you have.
So the three of us are wearing black again, and you're wearing a different color.
Yeah, but I'm not
Mike's is green.
I'm not Mr. Death this time, though.
Mine's green.
Mike's is green.
So we are the Vinyl Community Guncesl. I'm Robert Fitton, along with Mike from Hub Tunes, Richard from Calvin Wazoo, and ladies and gentlemen, I didn't have time to come up with anything. Craig from Craig's Vinyl Plethora.
Welcome to the show.
Welcome.
We're very prepared.
Welcome. Yes.
So, Power, Corruption, and Lies by New Order. This is my original copy from 83.
Mm-hmm.
Come out in 83.
Yeah, 83.
Die cut.
Oh, yours is die cut.
Yeah, it's got that, and it's just got the black insert.
Yeah, mine's reissue. It's not die cut.
Yeah. So this album, first of all, New Order is my favorite this is my favorite album of the second British invasion, of that early 80s British invasion of Depeche Mode and Echo and the Bunnymen and all these bands and New Order. And this is my favorite record of all those groups. I adore this record. This is a top 10 record of mine of all time. It starts with Peter Hook. Peter Hook, the bassist, is there any other band? I was kind of thinking of this today because I listened to it in the car on my way home. I was like, is there any other band where their sound is so focused around a bassist? He carries this band. I mean, he plays like lead bass, and he does this 8-string, this hollow, like it's a hollow 8-string bass, and this is a freaking masterpiece for bass work. I remember when I was a kid, I actually played bass when I was in like freshman year in high school, probably for like 3 years. I was terrible at it. And I remember when this album came out, I asked my guitar teacher if he could teach me how to play the opening for Age of Consent. And he just looked at me and he laughed. And he goes, let's start with Money by Pink Floyd, and we'll graduate to this in like 3 years. And I've always remembered that. And I've always been like, wow. And he's an absolutely phenomenal bass player. And he's all over this record. I mean, Jesus, where to start? I mean, I'll go through all this. Age of Consent. I mean, every time you hear that song, you just turn it up. I crank it. It's just so much energy, and I love Bernie's vocals on that too. I don't think Bernard Sumner is a great lead singer, but he's perfect for New Order.
Yeah.
He's just perfect. He his vocals. There's some moments where I'm like, wow, he's nailing that. But then there's other times where I'm like, yeah, he's all right. And he's okay live. That's a whole other story. But We All Stand is a great number, just coming right after. It's a little slower, a little more mellow after the intensity of Age of Consent. And then The Village, one of my favorite New Order songs. I just dig that. It's danceable. They play it at every show I've seen. They play almost all these songs at every New Order concert I've been to. And then 586 is just awesome. I just love that funky beginning. And then the way they slow it down at the end, it's just great. Your Silent Face is just a masterpiece. I dig that freaking song. I loved it back when I was in high school. I just loved that song. That was my favorite song on the record. Ultraviolence is great. I really dig that. I think they usually play that also when I've seen them. Ecstasy is the one song on the album where I'm kind of like, it's all right, but it's not a long album, so it fits in with the groove, and it doesn't slow the album down at all. And yeah, but that's the one song where I'm kind of like, meh. And then Leave Me Alone closes it out. Another song they play live all the time. Absolutely phenomenal. I just love that song. For me, again, in New Order, it's just, especially this album. It's Peter Hook's bass. That lead bass that he plays is just phenomenal. The other band I was thinking maybe that their sound was created around the bassist. I mean, I guess most of them are. Well, I was thinking Yes, Chris Squire of Yes. That band, his bass. He's my second favorite bassist. Peter Hook's my favorite bassist of all time. Chris Squire's right there at number 2. But the thing with Yes, they also had an incredible guitarist in Steve Howe. So, but man, yeah, I could gush about this album all damn day, but I won't. I'll let Craig do more. Yeah, this is 5 rainbows for me. I don't give 5 rainbows out very much, but I love this record.
Primus.
Yeah, Primus. There you go. Yeah. Well, he's like the lead.
Yeah, but they're not a good band.
I didn't say they were good, but I
But
just want to say that
he's an
before somebody put it in the
incredible
comments. Primus
Yeah.
would be their
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's an incredible bassist.
and known for the bass, and the bass is the whole thing. And
Mm.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, that works. I was talking to somebody today, and somebody said Red Hot Chili Peppers, but I don't see that.
Wait, maybe.
Yeah.
Flea can.
As far as
We can jam.
bassists with their dicks out, I would think that would be a
Flea
Yeah. Yeah, Flea would be the.
Yeah, I
The one.
don't think Peter Hook is doing that.
Why not?
he would have the name for it.
No.
Yes.
Well, my next.
Hey.
Yes.
Yes.
So I don't have a copy of this album like you guys do, but it's been on my want list for a long time. And sometimes I see it in the store, but for whatever reason, I end up, I'm getting something else. This is great music to me, right from start to finish. The lyrics sometimes are kind of mysterious and cryptic, but I like the way that they are vague enough that you can do what you want with the song. I mean, there's really only a couple of songs I think that are, have some kind of specific story or message. I mean, Your Silent Face, I think that's kind of about Ian Curtis.
Yeah.
Then the other one I thought was, which one is it? The Ultraviolence was about a Catholic boys' school that 2 of the band members had attended that was known for sex abuse. So that's the way they do these songs, though. Some of these songs with maybe a dark topic, the music doesn't get all dark. We all stand. I mean, that is kind of a dark song and dark and sounding, but it's really simple and it's got some really strong power in it. I saw Peter Hook in the Light live here in Chicago. What was it, about a year ago at the Riviera?
Yeah.
And I had no idea who I was going to see. I was going with my friend Benny, and I asked, he asked me if I wanted to go, and I said, sure, I'll go. It sounds interesting. What do they sound like? And he said Joy Division and New Order, and so I thought, oh, okay, they kind of sound like. Well, then I get there, and the first set that they went through was all New Order songs, and then the second set they came out and played were all Joy Division songs. And then I realized, who Peter Hook was.
Richard.
I know.
They're terrific
I know.
live. Yeah, they're fantastic live.
But these, the songs, for me, even the instrumental Ecstasy, to me is a great song. It is different because it being an instrumental. But at the same time, I just feel like right from the beginning with Age of Consent, you've got this very, very danceable song. it slips into a little darkness for a while, but then it comes right back. Buoyant is a word, I think, that really works to kind of describe the music. It is really good. I gotta get this record. I was looking up, and it seems like the best, unless you can, if you want to get a 1983 OG, they're not that expensive that I've seen, but the 2009 Rhino remaster, I was looking at the comments and people were raving about how great that
hasn't it's been
particular
reissued
sounds.
recently, hasn't it?
Yeah,
Mine,
there is a
mine is like from
a
within the last
2022
5 years.
release or something
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
that.
I think that's
Yeah,
what
the whole
and it
catalog
sounds fine.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know what that one is like, but it's not like
That's good.
they're super high priced, but I guess they get snapped up when they're available, and so I don't necessarily always see them. I am also going to give this 5 rainbows. This is just incredible in terms of the music and the songwriting and the sound quality. I mean, I was listening to it, online on YouTube, but still, the sound quality, even there, I could tell if I was listening to this on vinyl, this would be good.
Yeah.
Well, it's fantastic, but just a couple tidbits. So their second album, interesting thing, no singles released off of this record, none. There were 2 singles released this year that would be Blue Monday and Confusion, but those were just singles. Also, Blue Monday, best-selling 12-inch single of all time. Just some tip. I'm sure everybody already knows that, but you guys kind of said everything. Obviously, Age of Consent, big opener. Your Silent Face is my favorite New Order song, hands down. There's nothing finer, in my opinion. It's just, I don't know, it's 6 minutes of just absolute perfection. And the lines at the end, you caught me at a bad time, so why don't you just piss off? Like, that's the best closing line of a song, like, just ever. 586 definitely has some Blue Monday tones in it. There's some definitely moments of that song where you feel like I'm listening. And there was another one too that there's a little bit of Blue Monday. It was like kind of strung out through the record, but it was actually on the record. It was on later cassette releases, and I believe it might have been on later CD releases, but never on the album. Trying to think of when. This was the second New Order album. Low Life would be the first one that I ever heard. So they always battle out of which is my favorite. And I think maybe because Low Life was the first one I ever had, sometimes it kind of outweighs this just a tad, even though this is probably the better album. But nostalgia, and you know how I am with that stuff. I don't really know what else to say other than I think it's brilliant. It is one of their best albums, if not their best. Brotherhood is also mighty fine as well.
Yeah.
And I already had this in my mind that I was going to do this, but it's also getting 5 rainbows from me.
So I'm the one that's never heard this before. Ironically, also the one that chose it. So the only song I knew off of here was Age of Consent, which is a great start. It sounds like it could have been a single. I know there's a video for it, so obviously it was promoted somehow, more than other songs on here. But that's just this really great, synth kind of thing. But the whole thing with the whole album overall, and this is coming from somebody that has been listening to pretty much, with the exception of Record Store Day releases, I spent a couple days listening to Record Store Day records that I got, and then I listened to the albums that we review. Other than that, I have listened to nothing but albums from 1983 for over a month. So when you do that, and one of the reasons I am doing that, it puts everything back into perspective of why certain albums are more important than others, why certain albums are, considered classics and ahead of their time, why certain albums are considered not classics and throwaways, and what the hell, what were they it's all back into perspective. And when listening to this in context of all of the other things from 1983, especially synth pop bands like Heaven 17 comes to mind, you really get an idea. Exactly. You really get an idea of how better this was, how much more was going on here than just that that kind of thing. And there's none of that in here. There's none of that gated drum stuff that was in a lot of the synth pop. I mean, that's a signature sound for 1983, especially if you're talking about keyboard oriented stuff, and that's not on here. These guys had their own thing going on, and it's a lot more humanistic than a lot of the really cold kind of stuff that was coming out at the time. Of course, you had other things other than synth pop. You had the rise of British new wave heavy metal. You had, glam rock is just coming in with Quiet Riot and Twisted Sister becoming popular, and country, a lot of that's crossing over. So you had other things. But as far as the synth pop stuff, this is so much more realized than a lot of the other stuff that's out at the time. And the very first song really kind of encapsulates that. Second one, We All Stand, weirdly reminded me of the Doors. And I think it's the vocal arrangement. It's not the sound. It's definitely not the music. It's the vocal, the way he keeps repeating that phrase like Jim Morrison would do or something. I couldn't quite put my finger on it, but I kept thinking the Doors every time. I've heard this 3 times. Every time I heard it, it was the same thing. The Village sounds like The Cure, but this is before The Cure sounded like that. It has that guitar that kind of sounds like later 80s Cure. So I think this was actually first. So the first 3 songs are just knockouts. I wish I would have listened to this like about 25 years ago. 586 is the one that sounds more like what I would expect to hear from the band that does Blue Monday. Now you're getting into, okay, now this sounds like what I thought I was going to be hearing. And because this is the same time as a Blue Monday, but I'll get to that. More synth oriented. You do have the percussion that's now sounding more like 1983 percussion with that song. Same thing with Your Silent Face. The instrumental Ecstasy is probably the most dated sounding. It's the one that's kind of stuck in the early 80s. The rest of these really don't sound like 1983. They're especially Age of Consent and a couple of the others. They sound kind of like, oh, this could be 89, this could be 92, this could be 79, this could be, you're right. So Ecstasy is the one that definitely sounds, okay, this is definitely the early 80s from an English band. And the little sad Leave Me Alone is the closer. And that's where we're getting back into the kind of the goth, I'm dressed all in black and my fingernails are black and my hair is jet black and I'm wearing a trench coat and I'm listening to Leave Me Alone. So yeah, it's a pretty outstanding album, especially again when you put it in context of everything else that was coming out in 1983. The question is, where is Blue Monday? Like Mike said, this is the second British invasion, and listening to all those albums and whatever, and listening to this started going on in the 60s with the Beatles and the Rolling Stones and the Who, and it went all throughout the 70s, really came back in the 80s again, and went on throughout the 90s. The US version of a UK album is always different for the most, so not always, but for the most part, they're different. Sometimes they got a different cover, a different title, different mix, different running order, different songs. They always change things up and bastardize the UK album for the US release. So why didn't they do that with this and take off 586 and put on Blue Monday? This is America, and we want hit singles on albums. We do not want standalone single off here by itself. And then that's a UK thing. Blue Monday should have been on here. And I'm not talking about a CD bonus track. I'm talking about it should have been on the US version, or just put on, I don't know, this is 40 minutes long, so they weren't just going to put it on. It's a 7.5 minute song, but yeah.
I kind of like that it's not on the album.
Of course you do.
No, just because of where
Because it's
Where
the top
Blue
selling 12-inch single of all time, and that's one of the reasons is because
Well, that
Americans
is
had to
because
buy it.
Well, the
you
12-inch
can
single.
get it. It's the only
It
way
would
you
be
can
on
get
the
it.
album
But then
Yeah.
later, we got it on
CD.
Substance.
Substance.
Well,
It sounds
apparently it was on later CD releases too at the end.
Yeah.
probably.
Yes.
I think,
But
too.
that was kind of their thing because like with their first album, and then they had the single Temptation, which is another one of my favorite songs.
Well, they all did that though, but
Yeah.
usually the record company in the United States would change that and put the hit single on the album.
But if you go back and look at New Order singles, most of their singles were not on any albums.
Yeah,
And
but I'm
it's
saying
not-
a lot of
it's
UK
not-
bands
yeah.
were like that.
It's not the case. Well, I mean, think that they were a little more extreme with it though, because I mean,
The
Cure and other
aforementioned
bands
Heaven
did it like that.
17 was apparently
Hmm.
like that as well. I mean, the Beatles did that.
Yeah.
They had this, their singles were not usually on albums in the UK, but they were on anyway. So I will give this 4. Yeah, there's no Blue Monday. I'm giving this 4 rainbows.
Okay.
I would have given it 4.5 if it would have had a hit single on. Like this is still the USA up in here.
It's still
gonna need
fantastic without
That
Blue
hit
Monday
single.
on it though.
Yeah,
I think this might be our highest.
really.
I think so.
Yeah, I don't know too many albums where 2 people gave it 5.
Well, 3 people gave it 5 on this one, so
Oh, Richard gave it 5?
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
So the person that suggested it gave it the lowest rating. Yeah, that's probably the highest one.
Hey, well, hey.
Yeah, but that's fine. You'd also never heard it.
But never heard it.
But
I've only heard 1, 2. No, Substance isn't a real album. That's a
no,
compilation.
that's all your singles.
So I've only ever heard one other album, Republic.
Oh.
Don't start there.
I would definitely check out Brotherhood. I think you
Well,
would
I
like
started.
Brotherhood.
Brotherhood and Low Life, definitely.
Yeah. And those are like my 3 favorites. So
Yeah, mine too.
Movement is good. That debut, but
All right, so that's New Order, Power, Corruption, and Lies. From 1983. From May 5th, I believe, of 1983 to be exact. Where's
oh,
my thing here?
May
May
the
2nd.
be with you. Oh, May the 2nd be with you.
Yeah.
The only
So
one
what
I
will
have
we
of
be
theirs is
listening to
Technique.
next and reviewing? I think that's Craig's turn to tell us.
That's me. And we're going to be listening to some Nina Simone. And the reissues call it Little Girl Blue, but originally this was just called Jazz is Played in an Exclusive Side Street Club. It is her debut from 1959, I believe. So, Nina Simone.
All right, Nina Simone and Little Girl Blue. There's another name for it too. It was re-released in the 80s under a different name too, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some confusion about what it's titled. It's like that Linda Ronstadt album. But anyway, so we will be reviewing that next time. And do we know what year we're doing? That's coming up as well.
1972.
1972
so.
are tops and bottoms of that year. You don't want to miss that. That was the year I was born.
Oh.
Only yesterday.
Yeah.
Oh God! Now you're feeling old.
I even feel old.
All right, so that'll be that, and we'll have all kinds of other fun things coming up as well. You don't want to miss any of it because we're the Vinyl Community Guncesl, for Christ's sake. I'm Robert Pippin, along with
Richard at Kelvin Wazoo.
Craig's Vinyl Plethora.
Mike at Hub Tunes.
Hopefully we'll talk to you again soon.
Hopefully.